Hello classy people, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Mirror's Edge was a hidden gem of a game released back in 2008, which garnered a cult following of passionate fans who, until recently, could never have imagined the game getting a sequel. But now that there's a new entry in the series, it's time to see if the wait was worth it. Let's jump in. Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a reboot that takes many of the plot points and characters from the previous game and reworks them into something mostly different, but regrettably similar in terms of quality. We join Faith as she is released from a stint in juvie, a stint that was significantly shortened by the intervention of a black market mob boss named Dogen. After trying to square her debt to the crime lord, Faith runs afoul of one of the most powerful men in the ruling group known as the Conglomerate, and paints a target on her back and the backs of her fellow runners. Much like the prior game, the plot just isn't all that interesting, not helped by its unlikable supporting cast and predictable story beats. At the end of the day, it's pretty standard dystopic future fare, and while it's not outright terrible, it's far more prevalent than it was in the original game, making it harder to just ignore. Luckily, Faith is at least fairly endearing as a character, mostly due to her casual, relatable interactions with other less engaging characters, while her consistent characterization as brash and impatient makes sense as her whole deal is about running and always being on the move. And although you're almost always on the move, Catalyst's setting, the City of Glass, certainly makes a huge impression with its clean, white visuals accented by bursts of bright, solid colour. The game's minimalist style is certainly striking, though if you want to keep it looking its finest, I suggest turning the game's runner vision to classic mode, if only to stop the clean visuals from being muddled with constant ghosts and waypoints showing you the way. Unfortunately, the sound design just isn't quite as unique, with an utterly forgettable soundtrack and voice work that merely gets the job done. The thud of landing from a high drop or the sound of Faith clambering up walls works fine, however, and the game's traversal gameplay feels far more satisfying as a result. And it's a good thing that the running and jumping is as satisfying as it is, because the game is at least 80% pure traversal. Most missions, both story and side, involve Faith having to make it from point A to point B, usually with some kind of time restraint or while bullets fly at her head. The running mechanics are incredibly responsive, helping you make precision maneuvers including wall runs, vaults, and split-second slides. There are a couple of things that bother me that sort of relate to the running as a whole. For starters, not all of your abilities are unlocked off the bat, causing the running in the early game to feel incomplete for anyone who played the original game, and making a lot of time trials impossible to complete in a solid time until you unlock the necessary skills. And speaking of time trials, the use of an open world littered with secondary content feels unnecessary to say the least. While the secondary missions can be entertaining, they lack the focused structure of the core story missions, and as they can be completed in a number of different ways, I've often found it frustrating trying to find the optimal route. Even at its core, while running around the City of Glass may be entertaining for the first hour or two, having to navigate between story missions soon feels like a chore, added to pad out the playtime of this relatively short game. With that said, not all of Mirror's Edge Catalyst's additions and changes are for the worse. For one, the combat has been streamlined, and while it initially feels like there are less options overall, enemy encounters are far less annoying thanks to your ability to quickly deal with threats by knocking them in specific directions. If combat still isn't your thing, then Catalyst also provides a focus shield which builds up as you stay in motion, allowing Faith to dodge incoming bullets while encouraging players to keep moving, no matter what. There are also a couple of new gadgets that seem to exist only to lock off new areas of the world map, and while they don't really feel like they add much, the mag rope and disruptor don't throw off the core running gameplay too much either. They're just sort of there. As far as follow-up games go, Mirror's Edge Catalyst is mostly a success. It takes mechanics from the first game and makes additions and changes to them to make them more satisfying or more appealing, while giving players the same striking visuals that were so memorable from the first game. It's not without its issues, however, as Mirror's Edge Catalyst stumbles and falls when implementing unnecessary features like an open world and skill trees, and its overarching plot isn't anything to write home about either. Mirror's Edge Catalyst gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of good. Even with a few frustrating missteps here and there, Mirror's Edge Catalyst delivers a good time overall thanks to a set of core mechanics that work incredibly well, and a visual style that will stay with me for a while to come. Fans of the original should definitely give Catalyst a try, and gamers looking for a unique experience could do far worse than this. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the review informative. If you missed last week's E3 Top 10, click the annotation. Now if you'll excuse me, it's time to run some more. Not in real life, because I'm profoundly fat. In the video game, clearly.